I'll tell you, this is one of the dilemmas whenever you're doing a survey. You have a limited amount of time to capture the person's attention. And that's debatable in terms of the number of questions you can ask. And if you exceed that number of questions, the plus is that you get, from those who do respond, you get a greater degree of granularity. But the minus is you lose people who wouldn't have responded. So, I spoke with NAED before the survey was released. We had a goal of 15 questions. At first I had a lot more. We winnowed it down to 15. And it was a question of how far we could give clarity and how far we could drill down. Some of the other limitations is projects vary widely, okay? This is an aggregate of all projects. So perhaps on certain types of projects, the structure might be different. Well, those are just limitations of the survey.
It'd be interesting to see what the distributor answer to that same question would be.
I agree, and actually at the very beginning we did have this as across the board, but we didn't, but it got cut during the process. Okay, so let's go back again now. We were at slide 9. So that's the shipping and receiving and pre-installation were the most frequently requested. And I'm using the term compensable because you are being compensated, and this is going back to the previous question, so now I'm going to ask it. If I said, let's go to, okay, let's just go with this one. Since it was the largest percentage of everything at 81%, pre-installation, lighting, fixture, packaging, removal, and palletization. Notice that 5 said it was a bundled price, 8 said charged a specific fee. In this specific category, pre-installation, there were a considerable amount where the charge of specific fee was actually the highest in terms of comparing those two. Usually it was bundled. So I'm going to ask you the question. Those who charge a specific fee, obviously, you know the fee. If I asked if it was bundled, do you know what your fee is? It's bundled. Are you bundling it such that you know it's a bottoms up, and you know that this is a bundled price for all of these services? Could you break out this one specific one and know what your specific charges are associated with this, regardless of if you bundle it? Yeah. What do you think? Yes? I'm not hearing a lot. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I heard yes, but is anybody saying no? Would anyone want to fess up to say no? All right. Anyway, just it's somewhat rhetorical as well. Think about it. That's the point. So we talked about that. Okay, yeah, that's right. I got up to 9. Okay, so 10 and 11. Okay. From the table, it appears obvious that there's 2 categories of service, shipping and receiving and pre-installation, that were most frequently cited. Together, in those 2 categories, there were 20 services cited where the sum of that bundled price plus charged a specific fee was greater than 20%. That would be the suggested area of focus in general, because the ground conditions are such that it shows that there's been success in charging a fee for those services. Ordering, office and accounting, and job site management and warehousing have opportunities, but not nearly as much. That's why those 2 together of pre-installation and shipping and receiving were more, those 2 categories were more than all other categories combined. While most distributors offer value-added services in all categories, okay, data suggests that distributors decide, for a variety of reasons, not principally to charge no fees for those. Most who do charge levy it as part of a bundle of services. So here is a graphical representation. So let me, it might be a little difficult to read in the back, so I'm going to go up front and I'll read it to you so you can get an idea in terms of magnitude. So this is shipping and receiving services, all right? The categories previously we saw in the raw survey results: provided at no cost, bundled with other services, different for each project, and charged a specific fee. Remember from those tables, I was focusing on bundled with other services and charged a specific fee. But you can see the largest category by far is provided at no cost. So looking at it from a positive standpoint, although yes, there's an uphill battle because it's provided at no cost right now, there are still opportunities to break out the bundling to charge a specific fee, or at least cost it out in terms of a bundled price and charge a specific fee. The aggregate of those two is still greater than 20% for many services. Each one of those bars represents a specific service. So for instance, you see this is shipping and receiving, and you see provided at no cost. You see the same color of bars in the same rank order as bundle, different, and charge of. So this is how to interpret this slide. Shipping and receiving provided at no cost. That's all of these. So each one of those bars represented emergency delivery, job site, material tracking. It's just it was too difficult to burden that slide with the data. But you could draw a correlation one-to-one between one of those bars and one of these services. So there's the breakout for shipping and receiving, okay? The trend towards providing no-cost services becomes clear. We can see that that's the current trend, all right? Extends across all categories except pre-installation. We saw that on one of the previous tables. Part of the reason may be due to increased resource requirements or the assumption of risk on a distributor's part. But let's take a look. This pre-installation is far better than shipping and receiving. By that I mean, look at the total here that's provided at no cost. Here's the bundled, and here's charged a specific fee. So look at this plus this related to provided at no cost. And you can see that charged a specific fee and bundled, in some cases, exceed provided at no cost. All right? So I'm going to pause here for just a minute. Does anybody have any questions on this in terms of the interpretation, what it literally means, what it means in terms of services, and the potential to leverage that and charge fees or provide them at least? Any questions? Okay.
Lonnie,
Yes.
You don't break out contractors and distributors.
No, this is no because this one was all contractors. Remember? Yeah.
I saw you had some distributor response.
On this one?
No, it just said on slide 12.
Oh, on that one. I'm not even sure what slide 12. May I see it for a moment?
The bottom
Thanks.
Bottom one. It says participants.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. But this was not a question asked of distributors and manufacturers. This is a question asked of contractors. There were questions that went like this. Manufacturers, distributors, and contractors both answer the question. And then sometimes it was just this category, and sometimes it was just this category. Anyway, so this is what the data shows. Obviously, we know this. For distributors to be compensated, they need to start charging and embedding those charges within a company's cost of doing business. It doesn't give you, at a minimum, it does not give you clarity in terms of what your costs really are. And that's why I asked that rhetorical question. For those where you either charge nothing or you bundle it, either case, regardless of what you choose to do, internally, you need to have knowledge of what those costs are. That's the very, very first thing. Once you have the knowledge of them, you can make a better and more informed decision. And by bundling them and then certainly not charging a fee, or even if you bundle them and charge a fee, then you're burdening customers who may not want those services. There's many industries where services were provided for free, and now they've broken out those services and they're on a fee basis. Airline industry is certainly the most prominent of that. And you can get low-cost carriers where they will charge you for every single thing, not just check bags, not just seat assignments, but many more things than that. So that was a question and a case where it was an industry with bundled services, and now they've become unbundled and charge a specific fee. That's the market and the direction collectively I know that you want to go. And what I'm hoping is that by this being a jointly funded project and contractor input is both embedded within it and distributed too, that the white paper would make a compelling case and can be used as a basis to begin a dialogue at a minimum so that you can discuss some of the data. And we'll get to that in a few more slides. Recommendations, I've talked about, know what services you can and should charge for, meaning what is the data supporting in terms of what's already being done in the industry. Offer services your competitors don't. Encourage contractors to work closely with you. And one of the biggest categories that we saw in terms of headaches, both distributor side and contractor side, was focusing on forecasting. And we'll see that. In fact, we've got data in here that's broken out by region and by size, and then I've gotten some highlights for the Eastern region, so we can take a look at those as well. Here it is. So for Eastern region, we broke out, and again, one of the dilemmas with surveys is that when you're attempting to align a wide cross-section of survey participants, and you attempt to stratify into categories, for instance, based upon annual revenue for size, one of the problems becomes, since that revenue is fixed for all participants, the concept of $10 million for a manufacturer is a lot different than $10 million for a distributor, and it's a lot different for $10 million for a contractor. But we have the data and we can sort it in a variety of different ways, but what we did was we tried to just sort it on a level field. So we looked at for small-sized companies, regardless of what that company was. For smaller size, the data shows that product availability was one of the biggest headaches, forecasting and communication for medium size, and job site storage for larger. However, forecasting and communication was also across the board. This was just the highest category for those different sizes of companies within the Eastern region. And we'll see in a couple more slides a graph for all the regions and giving an order of magnitude. So one of the commitments that we made to NECA was to produce a type of roadmap. Pardon me, I just want to do a time check. Okay. We got to produce a roadmap in terms of, from a transitional standpoint. And so we mimicked it for distributors, manufacturers as well. But the intent was to get contractors to start looking at a partnering arrangement and to moving in that direction. Obviously, the first thing is evaluate what services you can offer. Take a look at the survey results. Take a look at your own performance. See what results you feel you're best positioned to offer. Make contractor aware of your solutions, right? Because obviously it's based upon helping them solve their problems and convincing them that you can do that at a cost which is effective. And we'll see from a contractor standpoint how we phrase that. Be aware of areas where additional services can be integrated. And then just some subcategories there in terms of the value added across the board to all members of the supply chain when they integrate services. Contractor, determine your needs. Work with distributors and manufacturers. Analyze and communicate project challenges. How many times do you actually see a contractor's schedule, not just from an ordering standpoint, but their work and production schedule? Do you typically get anything from a scheduling standpoint? For instance, their Primavera schedule, do you get that? Just out of curiosity.
We'll get broader schedules.
That's what I figured.
Not drilled down that far. And then usually it's
off the job by this time frame. We need the fixtures to arrive by this time frame, so we can get off the job by then.
Top level milestones.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Which is good, but the more that there's sharing of information, one of the things about Agile has a lot of parallels to Lean. It's all based upon collaboration and it's all based upon relationships, meaning that the more information they can share, the more it can help you to project their needs into the future. So the communication goes both ways and the forecasting goes both ways. You can't forecast if you don't know enough detail, and you can't project if you don't have the basis for things. So, maybe one of the things is to try and get to drill down.